Well, happy Friday and welcome to the live stream. Hope everybody is enjoying their week. Today we are talking about the fact or the question, does anybody want to work? That's the idea. I got this great message from a mentee of mine, somebody I did mentorship for. And they just emailed me and said, hope it finds you well. Guess what? I start my new job tomorrow. The first time back in UI UX since 2023 of May of 2023. In case you're counting, yep, that's a year and a half of being unemployed. It's been the hardest fight of this person's life. And they wanted to celebrate with a person that they thought helped, which is super awesome. I'm happy to be part of this person's journey. But what it kind of like brought to mind was this was a hard working dude. He was putting in the effort. He was growing his skill set, building the portfolio, going on interviews, putting the interviews out. And he is that type of person. Maybe you're that type of person. But I caught a really interesting video this week and I just watched the first few minutes and I was like, oh my gosh, I gotta react to this. The title of this video was called Nobody Wants to Work Anymore. It's put out by the channel How Money Works. So I have the link of that down in the description. If you want to just go watch that, you totally can. But this is just going to be a pure reaction because in spite of some of the hard working people out there who are putting in the time and the energy and the effort and getting mentorship and doing boot camps and up leveling their skills and all of that kind of stuff, there is still this weird disconnect in the creative industry right now where it's hard to find a job and people that are hiring often for way too little. They're paying way too little, or they're asking way too much. Or on the flip side, some creatives are expecting too much to do too little. And so this video that we're going to just kind of like react to today and check out is talking about just like money and work and the economy in general. But I want to see how does it apply directly to us as creatives in the creative industry. So with that being said, I'm going to shut up. Let's go right over. Let's start watching the video because I think it's super interesting.
It's a classic gripe of out-of-touch corporate executives hiring minimum wage workers or the trust fund baby who is angry that their gym is busy in the middle of the day. Nobody wants to work anymore.
Ooh, is it true? Is it true? Do people not want to work anymore? When Elon Musk took over Twitter and renamed it X, which I still hate to this day, he laid off like 70% of the workforce. And his claim was that nobody was doing any sort of quality work that was actually important, that we sometimes get so caught up in these companies, in these organizations, we have these unfair expectations. And I think that's like the real crux of the conversation that's going to happen today. Is there unfair expectations on our sides that like, let's just go back because like 7 years ago, like 10 years ago, you know, like when everybody was working for a startup, man, like everybody was trying to hire people. There were so many startups that like the offers started to get really ridiculous, right? It was like every Friday we play ping pong and beer sample and there's craft services and lunch on Wednesday. It was like these insane offerings that I feel like everybody got like, he's kind of saying trust fund babies complaining about the gym. Is it true? Maybe.
Now, I really hate to say this, but by looking at the numbers, they might have a point. Labor force participation is approaching generational lows even after the pandemic, while labor force participation amongst men specifically is the lowest it has ever been. These declines—
Lowest it's ever been? Lowest it's ever been? Is that for real? Is that like, how can that actually be real that it's the lowest that it's ever been? I feel like, I only watched the first few minutes of it, but I'm already kind of triggered and have things to say. Let's watch some more.
At the same time that unemployment is theoretically quite low, which, if the economists are to be believed, means it should be easy for people who want to get a job to get a job.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, not quite.
Not
and
quite.
These numbers are confusing at best or downright misleading at worst.
Okay, why are they misleading?
People just don't want to go to work.
There was a poll I read a long time ago. Only like 18% of Americans feel engaged when they're at work.
I hate my job!
Can we just talk about that girl really quickly? I have to see her again.
18% of Americans feel engaged when they're at work.
I hate my job!
I really enjoy her. I can watch her all day. It's super funny. But is this like, okay, here's a question. You know, this idea of like only 18% of people feel engaged at their job. Is your job supposed to be about you? I feel like Disney has hosed us all, has made it impossible for all of us because everyone's supposed to follow your heart, follow your dreams. And it's just not... It's not true. Sure, if you can do something you like, great. If you could do it at a place you like, great, even better. If you could do it with people that you like, even better. But that's not the guarantee. I'm wondering if there's a level of like generational entitlement on our sides. Later on, I'm pretty sure the video talks about entitlement from the business owner side, their unrealistic expectations, which is totally true. So listen, this is not a designer crapping on other designers. I'm with you. There's unrealistic expectations out there. But this is maybe an invitation, I think. Time to stop and assess and say, are we being realistic? Do we expect too much?
The signs are everywhere. Businesses, especially restaurants, need employees and they need them
Dude,
now.
less than 20% of the country likes their fucking job.
Right, well, okay.
So there are two general schools that people fall into when they see that nobody wants to work anymore.
Okay.
The first group are wealthy executives, business owners, or just people who have always worked incredibly hard who don't like that jobs are going unfilled. So they blame it on lazy young people who would rather sit around all day smoking cones and watching skibbity toilets.
Okay, first off, I don't know what a skibbity toilet is. Maybe it's because I'm too old, but I'm not old enough where I fall in that first boomer group, you know, like where it's like you're just supposed to work 30 years and get a gold watch and then retire and then everything's fine. I get it. Housing prices are outrageous. The economy's on the run. Like it's, you know, the inflation's insane. Taxes are crazy. Like tax season's coming and I'm not excited about it. So like, I get it. Like things are not what they used to be. I know for a fact that, you know, housing prices have increased, for instance, in the United States, but like wages have not necessarily increased to match that inflation. So it's really, really hard for young couples and people to buy a house. But here's what I will say. Actually, my wife and I, we mentor young couples sometimes from time to time. And here's what I do tend to find, right? It's while yes, the economy is crazy, times are different, houses are not as cheap as they used to be. There's a lot of young couples that I have talked to, and this just is relative or relates to young people in general, who kind of have what I call like young married couple syndrome, which is they grew up in a house where mom and dad have been, you know, married or maybe not married, but whatever, are adults and have been living their adult life for a long period of time. And they have nice couches and nice cars and nice things. And they expect to move out of the house and instantly have access to those things without putting in the work that mom and dad or aunt and uncle or their role model have put in. Does that make sense? So there's this like cognitive dissonance where they go like, my expectation is to be able to eat nice food and go out this often and have my leisure time, like just like these older examples of mine have. But they don't realize that like when my wife and I got married, like we had lawn furniture in our living room and like a blow up, like an inflatable mattress on the ground for the first couple years. We were super broke. It was really, really hard. And we had to grind and work not only 9 to 5, but 5 to 9 to get somewhere, to build something. And there is a little bit of a disconnect there. I don't want to crap on it too much, but let's look.
The second school of thought agrees that yes, people don't want to work. They don't want to work demeaning jobs where they won't get paid enough to support a decent quality of life.
Social media's fault as well.
It's nice when two groups who are so different can agree on something.
Can
so
we?
Really, the only thing left is to work out why people don't want to work. Now, in most cases, the jobs that nobody wants to work fall into one of three categories.
Okay, here we go.
The first are jobs that are just paying well below market rates given the experience or the location required. Businesses aren't going to be able to fill a full-stack senior development role in Silicon Valley for $50,000 a year plus equity in their questionable pre-seed startup.
Yeah, that used to be a thing. It's not a thing anymore. You know why? Because there's like, I think they said already in this video, there's finance bros in San Francisco who have roommates because they can't afford the cost of living in San Francisco, even though they have to walk through poop on the streets. I'm not trying to get political. I'm just trying to say it's a crazy situation where you can't get paid 50 grand like to work in one of these businesses because that doesn't even cover your rent for the year. How's that? Right? But and while you might move to like Minnesota or Iowa or somewhere else where things are more affordable, then the job rate shifts and changes. And even I'm sorry, it's Friday and I've had a lot of coffee and I have thoughts, I have feelings. And even there's even a lot of companies that will say, well, we'll pay somebody for the same work living in San Francisco more than somebody living in Idaho. We'll pay them less because the cost of living is different. No. What's the job description? What's the requirement? What's the workload? Like, pay me what that is worth, the market value of what that's worth. Don't necessarily dictate and change it. It either works or it doesn't work where people want to live. This is where remote work actually does come in. It's actually pretty awesome, but there's also some downfalls. We'll talk about that later.
But there are still plenty that try. Even entry-level jobs that pay minimum wage in very high cost of living areas are going to be much harder to fill in a city where even finance bros are living in shared housing. Now, hot take alert.
Okay.
But just like there are no shortage of crappy businesses and managers that expect to pay workers nothing for world-class skills and experience, there are lots of workers who expect world-class pay with little or no marketable expertise. One of the most insightful pieces of data on this issue is this recent survey right here.
This one's
it
rough.
It asked a selection of Americans what they considered to be the minimum salary they would need to be financially successful. Now, most of the responses to these numbers have been laughing at the Gen Zs just entering the workforce who think that almost $600,000 a year is a realistic salary goal.
$600,000! $600,000! That's what? You gotta be kidding me! $600,000? That is not reasonable. And you know what's it's super crazy? Like, look at this. Like, think about this for a hot second. Right? The boomer generation like thinks that like $99,000 is like reasonable. And you know what? Actually, I would argue it's not far off. Like, if you are a single person making $99,000 a year, like, what do you really have to cover, right? It's different if you're all of a sudden you're the sole breadwinner or provider, like for your home, making $100,000 a year. There's all the freelance courses out there in the world being like 6 figures, like make 6 figures. You know what? 6 figures, and this is like maybe a newsflash to a lot of us, but like making $100,000 a year seemed like 8 years ago was like, man, that's like the goal. But now after taxes eat into it, rent, cost of living, expenses, inflation, all of that stuff, making 6 figures actually looks more like taking home $42,000 a year. Are you with me? That's stinking crazy. It's nutsos that is actually the case. And so, yes, like $100,000 is rough. Gen X thinks, you know, that like maybe 212 is good. Millennials, which apparently I would fall into that category, we think 180 is good. But this number, 587, almost $600,000 is atrocious. That is not what is needed. There's some sort of disconnect here. Let's see what else this video has to say about it.
Because for most people, it just isn't. Unless you are in a few very specific career paths, there are basically no jobs that pay this money. And even then, you need an insane amount of luck to get
okay, and this is where like, okay, sorry, not to like punch down on Gen Z because I'm a millennial and old and stuff, but like, hear me out. Like, where do you think that you're making $600,000 from? Like, it's hard to make $600,000. Like, I know doctors and lawyers that ain't pulling $600,000. And you think because you have a TikTok channel and like, you think because like you're starting a paid newsletter, you deserve $600,000 a year. You have no marketable skills. If you don't have the skill set, you don't have the experience, you haven't proven yourself to be able to add value, to be a value add to anybody of any kind, then where the heck is that number coming from? I just don't get it. I'm going to stop ranting and listen.
Those opportunities. Now, you can blame this on young people who don't really know how the world works yet, or social media that makes it look like every hustle bro is flying private.
Boy, can I just talk to you about how much I hate hustle bro culture. Can I just like, listen to me. If you're a fake guru and like a coachy coach, I don't like you. I don't like you, okay? Like, as somebody who actually has courses for sale and communities you can sign up for, mentorship programs, and they're all reasonably priced, and I put my heart and soul to them, I cannot tell you how many people have come to me and said, I took such and such is course for $1,000, and it was 5 Loom videos and a PDF, and Jesse, I took your 30-day UI design course, and it's like game-changing. I can't believe the value difference. It's because there's so many bros out there and coachy coaches that have ruined it. They're trying to tell you, well, of course, it's so easy, like blah, 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 blah. All these social media bros. It frustrates me. It just hits me right in my gut and my core. And it hurts that I have to do something even close to that. Like, I have a passion and a desire to teach people, help people, up-level their skills, and help them get jobs and land clients and build businesses. That's what I love to do. That's what my programs and my courses and my coaching is all about. And then it gets mingled in with these freaking charlatans, and it angers me, and I'm upset. My friend Joseph Tadaro is like in the house. He's like, same. Anybody, like I've hung out with Joseph. Like I've spent some time online with Pixel Geek here. Like I have a lot of friends in the education space, the design space, people who are trying to make rad stuff and actually help people. And all of us are frustrated by the coaches and the charlatans. I just want to put that out there.
But it's all distracting from a more interesting data point.
Okay.
The average boomer thinks financial success is achieved with a salary of just under $100,000.
Right. Yeah.
According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, this is still almost double the median national salary.
Right.
But in most major cities where people can actually find jobs that pay this much, $100,000 certainly doesn't afford a lifestyle of financial success.
Yeah, like there's a difference also, keep in mind, between like a lifestyle of financial success versus being able to pay your bills and put food on the table. That's different. And I do think that, back to the social media point, everybody is like preaching this like financial success, wealth, generational wealth kind of thing. It's very, very different than scraping by. Unfortunately, if you're making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, you are kind of scraping by a little bit, right? So yes, like there's a difference between paying the bills versus financial success.
There is simply a massive gap in expectations between the generations looking for their first jobs and the group responsible
Where's that gap
for giving
come
out
from?
most of the jobs.
That's what I want to know.
So they both agree that nobody wants to work.
Tell me.
Just for different reasons.
Ooh, for different
The
reasons.
second type of job that nobody wants to work are in workplaces that push their staff, demand unreasonable overtime,
Here it
or
comes.
have management that are needlessly abusive.
Right.
This happens in a shocking amount of businesses across the country. And even if you are lucky enough to avoid a boss that thinks shouting is an effective motivation tool, you have probably worked some overtime out of fear of losing your job or being reprimanded.
Right. Okay. Second type of business, like the unreasonable expectation and toxic workplace. I've experienced it. You've probably experienced it. If you haven't, you don't want to experience it, but it's a very, very real thing. There's people right now that are looking for multidisciplinary designers who can do animation, web design. They know how to use Figma, Webflow, Framer, do UI design, have no code experience, 3 to 5 years, and they're trying to pay you 60 grand. Like that's insane what they're asking for. And those are red flags for all of you who are job hunting right now, or client hunting. Like those are red flags. When people want unreasonable things, don't get into that business relationship. Don't get into that position. Just say no now, because you're saving yourself a lot of heartache and a lot of pain later. Because if they're asking for unreasonable things now, just imagine what happens when you're under their roof or in their funnel or part of their organization. It's bad news. Don't do it. Phil says it's those same boomers that have everybody out of being able to live, that have priced everybody out of, potentially, maybe, I'm not sure. Let's hear more.
According to a 2023 workplace survey, the average full-time worker across the country studied is now putting in an average of 9.2 hours of unpaid overtime.
That's crazy.
These jobs often don't have much trouble finding people to start, but they do struggle with high staff turnover. The third are simply jobs that never act.
That's a Glassdoor trick right there as well. Like if you're looking for a good workplace, look at the staff turnover. Like how long do people stay? How long do people enjoy their time there? And what's the turnover rate? Like what's that percentage, that churn rate? If it's churning quickly. And also, like they said, on average, 9.5 hours of overtime. Was that per week or per month? Either way, it's no good, right? Like if I'm paying somebody to do a job, which I do, I have employees that I pay. I tell them to do their job and I want them to do it well. As a business owner, I know that nobody's going to care about my business more than me. So I have to be the hardest working person in my business. When that ceases to be true, the business starts to tank, right? Because I can't expect other people to love my business more than I love my business. And so, yes, I need to be the hardest working person there, and I need to pay people a fair wage for what they do, expect them to do great work, and hold them accountable to that reasonable expectation. Also, as a business owner, this is a side topic, but you also want to give them areas to grow, to have more responsibility, so you can have more expectations for them that has more compensation. This is just fair. It makes sense. There's a lot of people, a lot of companies out there that aren't doing it.
Existed. You probably all know about ghost jobs by now. But even if you really do want to work, there is a good chance that most of your applications are just going to build out a workforce database.
Did you hear that? I had never heard about this until right this moment, this idea of ghost jobs, that people are posting, companies are posting jobs right now to get applications, just not to hire anybody, but to simply fill out databases of information. Shame on you.
not to actually be considered for employment. Now, whatever the specific reason, the results are the same.
No.
Less people end up working.
Yeah.
But aside from settling some beef between entitled Zoomers and some out-of-touch boomers, this data all reveals something more concerning about work in the current economy.
Okay.
It's not that people don't want to work anymore. They simply can't afford to.
What does that even mean? That people, it's not that people don't want to work, it's that they can't afford to work. It's not that they want to sit at home and smoke blunts and watch skibbity toilets. It's that like the numbers don't make sense, that the math isn't mathing anymore.
So it's time to learn how money works to find out what's really behind the worst phrase in the workplace. This week's video is sponsored by MyHeritage.
We don't need to hear your sponsor. Let's skip this portion, but what on earth, dude? Let's skip past this ad because I don't care. And then, yeah, we're just going to find the next thing. This whole idea has blown my mind. Curtis is saying, wow, people are like mind blown by all of these ideas. Let's hear more.
Who don't want to work because they think unless they are offered six figures in their first roll out of high school, it's not worth their time. And they would be better off sitting at home working on their NFT dropshipping business.
Okay, here's the problem is you might be right. Like, okay, this is where I'm going to jump on the side of the Zoomers and Gen Z and just say, there's a lot of people, as we've seen in the video, and my experience talking to people has been this, there's just a lot of unfair expectations and unfair offers out there in the world. Do I think that you should start a role for less than 100K? Absolutely. But is there a possibility that you actually can do something more beneficial if you're not married, don't have kids, are young, are willing to take the risk and have an entrepreneurial mindset? Can you build something like, let's move past things like a drop shipping company and yada, yada, yada. But can you build a business? Can you do? Absolutely you could. And when you're young, it's kind of the time to take those risks. Now, here's what I will say. Like, I think you can do both and. I think you could probably start a role and then, you know, hey, instead of backpacking across Europe, if you want to just take a year or two and try something and fail forward, I'm all about it. But at some point, you have to probably move into the moonlighting phase where you get a real job that's not paying you a whole lot, but still pursue your dreams in the background. And a lot of people are like, oh, but I want to put my full time. No, I understand. What you actually want, not everybody, but some people, what they really want is to be able to sit at home, have this remote lifestyle, drink coffee whenever they want, take breaks, and then still somehow build some sort of successful business and be able to still have a social life. But the people who build successful businesses, they go all in, right? The people who have successful careers go all in. So you can't get around that the gatekeeper to a successful career or business is not somebody, it's actually yourself and the effort that you're willing to put into it. That's my thought.
Both of these groups definitely exist in shockingly large numbers.
Okay.
But even though it's really fun to make fun of both sides,
Yeah.
it distracts from the much more important reason why labor force participation is getting worse.
Okay.
Well, as you might have been able to guess, this trend is really being driven by specific age groups and specific locations.
Sure.
If you look at labor force participation and exclude the youngest generation of workers and the oldest generation of workers, it's actually approaching all-time highs, which really makes sense when you think about it. It's common for...
Does that mean me? Am I in the middle? I'm 40 years old. Is that me? Am I in the middle? Am I part of the nice crew, the good crew, the happy crew? I don't know. Brandon White says, Gen X here. I just got shafted from a job offer that I had a letter and a start date for December 9th, and they didn't even tell me why. They didn't want to move forward. No explanation. That needs to stop. You know what? That does need to stop. Like, I'm always, this is like, I constantly, like, if you take a course of mine or you go be a part of the Design Champs community, which like, but I'm constantly telling my design champs and anybody that'll listen to me that, you know, it starts here, right? In the words of the famous philosopher Michael Jackson, I'm starting with the man in the mirror, okay? And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm telling people to focus on themselves because you can't control what happens out there. You can control what happens right over here. All that fun stuff, motivational coach, yada, yada, yada. But let me just tell you this. Like, I do wish that companies like the one that Brandon's talking about would get on board and do the right thing. The audio died. No. Let's not have the audio die. Let's see if we can get back to the stream. I don't know what happened. Oh, man. Really? We get dead audio. We're going to keep going. Let's see if we can make it happen. I don't know if we can for some reason. the stream is not working. But if that's the case, we'll just keep cruising. We could repost this later because we're recording the whole thing. Audio good's there. Okay, audio died briefly, but no, you're good. Awesome, amazing. Let's keep going then, shall we? Yeah, I don't know where I was at, so let's just go back to the video. Let's keep watching the video. All right?
Both men and women to work full-time these days. And for most households, it's simply a financial necessity.
Right.
So yeah, even if people don't want to work anymore, they kind of are stuck doing it anyway.
Well, yeah,
The reason
I actually don't like that.
in general, though, is because the average
People are stuck doing it anyway. Like, I need to ask this question. Like, what, if you're not working, what else are you doing? What do you want to do with your time? I don't like that comment and that, like, people are stuck working. Like, what else are you doing with your time? Like, I read a statistic that said the moment that somebody retires and they no longer have any responsibility or work to go to or interests or things that they're doing, then it increases like their chance of death by like 30 or 40%. Don't quote me on that. I'm not Wikipedia, but it was basically saying that as you cease to have purpose, you basically get closer, you inch closer in a faster way towards death, because purpose and vision and mission and all of those things keep us alive. They keep us going. And so, like, what else are you doing if you're not working? Like, you have this idea that like you want your life to be like drinking margaritas on the beach, chillaxing, doing nothing. That's stupid. You got to have some sort of purpose. Okay. Sorry. Now I'm just venting.
is being dragged down by a lot of young workers and old workers. The old workers are the easiest to explain.
Okay.
As people started living longer, retirement ages were pushed back.
Yeah.
And more of the population began working in non-physical jobs. As a
This is
result, a
actually
larger
kind of
share of the
interesting.
population over 55 remained in the workforce.
Yeah. Because there's not as many people in coal mines or severing legs as they build walls and, dangling off of I-beams in the 1930s, building Empire State Buildings. Like, it's just a less dangerous time. Most of us are here. We are like doing our work somewhere. And then with the obviously the advancements in medical technology and, like supplements, all food is obviously taking a dive. So, we're all being poisoned by our food, but I'll try not to get political today. I'm just saying, like, there's been a lot of advancements that are keeping us alive longer, and work has changed. I agree with the statement.
This has started to reverse, though, as self-funded retirement systems and general asset prices have allowed a lot of over 55s to step back from the labor force, especially after COVID, as a lot of people received severance packages and decided that an early retirement was better than going back to the office.
Yeah.
Labor force participation from young people just entering the workforce, either out of high school or...
Because like, why wouldn't you? And when we say like, they're retiring, not going back to the office, hopefully they're probably finding something else to do. I would take a massive severance package instead of going back into the office. It's actually, I actually know a couple of people right now that are in that 50 plus kind of area. They took severance packages. They're like moving on from their 9 to 5 they've been doing for the last 15 or 20 years. And then they went and kind of like, because they're empty nesters, don't have any kids around anymore, have less responsibility, maybe have a lot of debt paid off. They're like, now's another time for me to take another risk and start that business. Kind of cool.
College is also pulling down the average, just for different reasons. More people than ever are getting a college degree, which means they are starting to work later.
Yeah.
And fewer people are working part-time jobs while they study, because for many, it's simply not worth it given how much debt they are going to be in when they graduate anyway.
Oh, I have so much stuff to say about debt. We have to stop watching this video because I can't ingest all of it. Otherwise, I'll probably get a copyright strike. So like, we're going to stop here pretty soon, but I have a lot to say about college debt. I love people educating themselves and growing themselves and preparing themselves for the workforce. Obviously, I don't think that you should go and get a $90,000 college loan and try to pay off that debt so that you can be a graphic designer. It makes absolutely zero sense. And maybe I have a bias here because I'm a self-taught designer. Yes, I ended up going back to school later, but I had schooling fully paid for through like my GI Bill because I served in the military. But like, I would not have gone back to school. I was already like self-taught, learning how to do design, getting internships, apprenticeships, like leveraging those into jobs. So it was about the hustle and the self-learning that was able to get me where I wanted to be and where I'm going currently. So I don't know what to say. Like, I just don't think that you need a 4-year degree. I have a lot of people that like right now are entering the workforce in the creative industry, because that's what we're talking about here today, that they don't have a bachelor's degree. And guess what? They don't need it, because I think, hot take, I think that the creative industry is kind of like one of the new kind of frontiers of, it's really a trade. It's not a white collar job. Actually, I would call creative work more of a blue collar job because it's a trade that you have to learn through apprenticeship. You get better at, you can become a kind of master the craft, so to speak. It's not fully blue collar, but maybe it's somewhere in between. Can we call it a gray collar job? I feel like that might be light navy. Okay, but it's definitely it's more of a trade because it's something that you don't have to get the degree and have the piece of paper to do the thing. It's way more like being a plumber or an electrician or a journeyman of some kind. And so Amala Joseph says, dropout gang. I'm right there with you. Like, I'm part of that dropout gang. So you can be successful and carve a path in your career without racking up $90,000 of debt. And so many people I talk to have it. Take a boot camp, like go do a course, take 30-day UI, take somebody else's course. I don't care. Take something that works for you. But there's so many more places to learn now online. That barrier to entry to information and knowledge has been torn down by the internet, especially in the last 7 to 8 years. Online education is at an all-time high. Curtis says, I just coined a new term, the gray collar job. Let's call it a gray collar job. Okay.
This might not also be a shock to you, but it's getting really damn hard to find a job out of college.
Yeah, I can imagine.
A few months ago, a post from a professor at Berkeley made the rounds after it spoke about his top students from a top college struggling to find work in technology, an industry that was hiring
I don't want to hate on college, I just don't believe in it.
Like this as fast as they could make them just 24 months ago. Previously, a Berkeley CS graduate, even if not a top student, would receive multiple appealing job offers.
Yeah, it doesn't, a degree no longer guarantees you a job. You know why? And I will preach this until the day I die. It's not about where you went to school or what piece of paper you have or what degree. It's about what you can do. In the words of Tina Turner, what have you done for me lately? That's what I'm saying. What can you do? What can you provide? What can you make? What examples is there? Portfolios are, in my opinion, the new degree, the new certificate. It's about the type of value that you can bring. And so if you don't know how to bring value in your portfolio, become a design champion, jump in. We have courses on portfolio building. 30-day UI has a whole section. You build case studies and you build an entire capstone project. It's anything like that is a better approach than going out and getting a degree. Because what do you have after? You go I have a piece of paper that says I'm a top student from Berkeley. Who cares?
In terms of work type, location, salary, and employer. However, outstanding students, like those with a 4.0 in major GPA, are now contacting me worried because they have 0 offers.
0 offers, Mr. 4.0 GPA, top of the class tech degree. No one cares. I wish I could just pull up a scene from Good Will Hunting where he's literally how stupid do you feel that you could have gotten your education with a $5 library card? That same thing applies. It's just been shifted over to the online experience. How stupid do you feel when you spent $80,000 on a UI UX design degree when you could have taken my course or gone to a boot camp or just learned yourself or gone to YouTube University and it was free to do so? Man, it's a bit silly in my opinion. I'm not trying to hate on you. If you're in college and you love it and that's your path, go for it, fine. Just understand you're paying for the experience. At that point, you're paying for the brand, right? You could buy a perfectly good bag to get you from A to Z and put your stuff inside of it, and then you could buy a Gucci bag, right? You're paying for the brand. That's all you're paying for. You're not paying for the actual, whatever. You're paying for the experience. You're paying for the ability to say, I went so-and-so. I'm carrying this bag with me. That's all college is in the creative realm, for me, in my opinion.
I suspect this trend is irreversible and likely part of the broader trend impacting almost every employment sector. It's pretty grim stuff coming out of one of the best schools in the country.
Brutal.
It might not be the most logical thing to do, but a common reaction from people who can't land a job with the degree they got to make them more employable is to just go get another degree.
Yeah. What insanity? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting something to change, right? That's pure insanity. Hey, my degree that I spent $70,000 on or whatever is not getting me any offers. I better go get another degree. Bah! That's the wrong approach. No. You need to learn how to provide value. You need case studies. You need testimonials. You know what this means? You would be better off doing free work for 6 months for your aunts and your uncles and your mom and your neighbors and your church and your nonprofit that you do some volunteer work for, you would do better by doing some free work for them. I encourage everybody. Somebody blew my mind years ago when they told me in one of these live stream chats, they're like, dude, even if you're not a religious person, go to any church around you, walk in and say, I'm a budding creative person. I'm looking for someone to let me do 5 to 10 hours of creative work for them a week for free. I just want to do free work. Here's the mind-blowing thing about it. It's tax deductible for you. At the same time, every church I know is looking for good creative help. All you have to do is be kind, be consistent, do the work. You will learn so much in 6 months and it'll be tax deductible. You will basically get a college education doing any of that work. Is it the perfect kind of work? Is it the exact work you want? No, but honestly, that's how I leveraged. That's what I did. I had an internship at my church and I leveraged that 6 to 8 month internship, had a little bit of mentorship from somebody. I got my first paying gig out of it. Why? Because I had a portfolio. I showed that I knew how to take direction, work with a manager, like take feedback, give feedback, and actually produce things. This is way better than college, in my opinion.
The rate of master's and PhD recipients has grown even faster than people getting an undergraduate degree, because that's now normal to stand out in a highly competitive job market. And to be honest, it's a nice way for people to avoid the reality of the job market for another few years.
Yeah, let's just end there and say, let's end on this topic of reality and avoiding reality, because I think that's the real dangerous thing here for both sides. Let's talk about the unreasonable organization out there or company who's putting out unreasonable job descriptions. They're avoiding reality. You're asking for unreasonable things. Absolutely. And shame on them for doing it. They are part of this divide that this video is stating that has been created between people looking to work, not wanting to work, and people looking to hire but not actually getting anybody or hiring anybody effective. And that divide on this side of it is companies putting out unreasonable job posts, unreasonable expectations, trying to pay people $50,000 or $60,000 to do $200,000 of work. But on the flip side, let's jump back over to this other side of the divide. That's you and me, the creative. We're people who are wanting to get paid $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 to do what? Push a couple pixels around and obey a design system that's already been established. That adds zero value. And so I can tell you there's jobs that are maybe some jobs that are going to do that for you. Maybe some jobs are going to offer that for you. But the churn rate on that, the turnover is going to be insane, because at some point, every company wakes up and goes, you know, there's two ways to do well as a business. It's to make more money and cut costs. Let's look around at the costs that we can cut. Look what's about to happen in the United States government. The Department of Government Efficiency is probably going to get established, and Elon Musk is going to pull a kitchen sink on the U.S. government, hopefully. I'm all for it. Like personally, you don't have to agree with me, but efficiency is always a way. I'm constantly looking for ways to cut costs and be efficient and save money in my business, because a penny saved is a penny earned. And so if you are not somebody who is adding pennies to, or potentially dollars or hundreds or thousands of dollars to any organization, you just want to be on payroll and milk the system. As a creative, you're going to have to get over yourself. Both of these things are creating this divide. And I agree but disagree with the title of this video, that nobody wants to work anymore. I think that social media is propagating a false system that everybody can be successful, everybody can create a drop shipping company, everybody can freelance easily. But what they're not teaching is the hard work and the grit and the determination and the late nights and the early mornings of making that business work, or you know, turning something and creating something and building something. I think they're ignoring the hard work, because you know why? Hard work is not sexy to talk about. It's not fun to talk about. What I'd rather talk about if I was a charlatan coachy coach is tell you, just take my course and you'll leave here making $100,000 a year, no problem, in 4 hours of work per week. If you hear that, just run in the other direction, because they're trying to sell you something. It's not for your good. It's for their benefit. You know, that's why, like, I try to be very ethical and honest when I tell you. If you look up, like, for instance, like my 30-day UI course right now, what you'll find is it says, this is not for the weary. Like, this is not I get to watch this course and pay a couple $100 and I'm guaranteed. No, I'm making no guarantees to you. The only guarantee that I make in my 30-day UI design course is that it will be hard, that you will have to do the work, that I will help you along the way. And by the time you're done, you'll have case studies and projects and capstone projects to present, but it will require multiple hours a day for at least 30 days to get you across that finish line. It's going to be blood, sweat, and tears. That's my promise. I think that's pretty honest because that has been my experience. Hard work is the thing that nobody's talking about. It's not that nobody wants to work anymore. It's that nobody wants to face the reality that hard work is still the biggest commodity or the biggest resource that you have. And so, yes, do you have the skill set now? Do you have all of the skills that you need? Or is your career exactly where it wants to be? Maybe not, but do you have the ability to change that? I think so, if you put in some hard work. Hey, that's it. Those are my thoughts for the day. This video is super interesting. Let me know if you like this kind of reaction content, because I kind of enjoy just riffing and ranting on a Friday sometimes. And if you want to hear more about that, feel free. You just pop right over. Again, free to sign up. But if you want to become a Design Champ Plus, you get access to exclusive live streams, behind the scenes stuff, courses. We just are expanding our course listing now. I'm really, really excited about that. You can come over and check out some of the courses that are available to you. We have things like Figma AI and Lottie Files certifications and Framer and things like typography for UI. And that's where you'll find my 30-day UI design course as well if you're interested. Everything is over there at Design Champs. I want to have massive impact on you and try to help you as much as possible. So continue the conversation with me over there, designchamps.io. And I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. I hope that you are thinking about the type of hard work you want to put in starting next week. So again, thanks a lot for your time. Have a great Friday. Have a great weekend. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.